Wife assumed I was cheating, so she cheated. I took everything and made sure to humiliate her. I never cheated on my wife. I never even thought about it. But she assumed I did, and instead of talking to me, she went out and did the very thing she accused me of. She cheated. And she did not just cheat. She made sure I found out in the worst way possible. But what she did not expect was that I would not sit back and accept it. I took everything from her. I made sure she felt the weight of her betrayal. I exposed her in a way that left her humiliated, with nothing to her name. Some might say I went too far. Others say she got exactly what she deserved. But I will let you decide. Growing up, I always believed in loyalty. My parents have been married for over 30 years, and their love was the kind I wanted in my own life. They always taught me that trust and honesty were the foundation of a strong relationship. When I met my wife, Lisa, I thought I had found that same kind of love. We had been together for 6 years, married for 3, and while we had our ups and downs, I always believed we had a solid foundation. I never thought she would betray me in the worst way possible. From the very beginning, Lisa and I had a strong connection. We spent hours talking about our dreams, planning our future, and sharing our thoughts about love and commitment. She often told me that trust was the most important thing to her because she had been hurt before. I promised her that I would always be honest, that I would never give her a reason to doubt me. And I never did. But it turned out that trust was not really what she wanted. It was control. I worked hard to provide for us, often putting in long hours at my job. Lisa, on the other hand, worked part-time and spent a lot of time at home. I never minded. I wanted her to be happy. If she wanted to take it easy, I was more than okay with that. But looking back, I realized that the distance between us started growing long before I even noticed it. At first, it was little things. Lisa became more suspicious, constantly asking who I was texting or why I was a few minutes late from work. She always seemed on edge, scanning my face for any sign of dishonesty. I thought it was just insecurity, so I reassured her every time. But her paranoia only got worse. She started checking my phone when she thought I was asleep, demanding to know my passwords, and even followed me to work once, convinced I had a mistress. No matter how much I reassured her, she refused to believe me. She would accuse me of hiding things, even when there was nothing to hide. I was exhausted from constantly proving my loyalty, but I never imagined what she would do next. Then, out of nowhere, she stopped questioning me altogether. The constant interrogations, the accusations, the snooping, it all stopped. At first, I was relieved. I thought she had finally realized that I was faithful, that she could trust me. But soon I noticed something else. She had changed. She started dressing up more, going out late, and suddenly had new friends I had never heard of. She became distant, her phone always face down, and she was constantly smiling at messages I was not allowed to see. It did not take long for me to figure out what had changed. She had found her own way to get even. The moment I saw Lisa in bed with another man, something inside me shifted. It was like all the love, trust, and years we had built together shattered in an instant. The air in the room felt suffocating. I could hear my own heartbeat, loud and heavy, thumping in my ears. My hands clenched in a fist at my sides, but I forced myself to stay calm. Lisa looked completely stunned, as if she had not expected to get caught. The man beside her, half naked and scrambling to grab his pants, had a look of sheer panic. He did not even bother to introduce himself. He just darted past me, shoving his feet into his shoes as he practically ran out of my house. The front door slammed behind him, and then it was just Lisa and me, sitting in the wreckage of what had been our marriage. She quickly pulled the sheets around herself, trying to cover her exposed skin, as if that would somehow undo what had just happened. "Wait, please," she stammered. You were not supposed to be home yet." I let out a bitter laugh. "Oh, so if I had been an hour later, this would not have happened? That is what you were saying." Her face twisted with frustration. "No, I mean, it is not what it looks like." I scoffed. "Lisa, are you seriously going to sit there and insult my intelligence? I just saw it with my own eyes." She buried her face in her hands, but I was not in the mood for her crocodile tears. I had spent months reassuring her, proving my loyalty, all while she had been sneaking around behind my back. "You have been distant," she suddenly snapped, looking up at me with defiance. "You come home late, you are always tired, and you barely talk to me anymore." What was I supposed to think? I raised an eyebrow. "So your first thought was that I was cheating, and your solution was to cheat on me first?" She hesitated, and I could see the wheels turning in her head, trying to find an excuse that would make her look like the victim. "I felt neglected," she finally muttered. I thought you were seeing someone else, and I was hurt." "You thought?" I repeated, my voice dangerously calm. "So instead of asking me, instead of talking to me like an adult, you decided to do this?" Lisa's lip trembled. "I made a mistake." I laughed coldly. "A mistake?" "Lisa, a mistake is forgetting to take the trash out. A mistake is spilling coffee on your shirt before work. This was a choice. You chose to lie, to sneak around, to betray me. And you have been doing it for months, have you not?" She flinched. That was all the confirmation I needed. How long? I demanded. She swallowed hard, avoiding my gaze. I do not know. Lies, I said sharply. How long? She hesitated, then whispered, 3 months? I exhaled, shaking my head. 3 months. 90 days of her coming home, looking me in the eye, and pretending everything was fine. 90 days of her accusing me of things I never did, just to cover up her own guilt. Was it worth it? I asked. Did it make you feel better? Did it make all your suspicions disappear? She started crying again, but I had no sympathy left. She had spent months tearing me down, making me feel guilty for things I had never done, all while she was the one betraying our vows. I turned around and started walking out of the room. Wait, she called after me. Where are you going? I did not even look back. To fix this. And trust me, Lisa, you are going to regret everything. Lisa had no idea what was coming. While she was busy making excuses and trying to manipulate me into feeling guilty, I was making sure she would regret every moment of her betrayal. I started by going through every financial record we shared. I wanted to see just how much of my money she had wasted on her affair. What I found made my blood boil. Lisa had spent thousands of dollars on this man. She had taken him out to expensive dinners, bought him gifts, and even booked a luxury hotel suite for the two of them, all while acting like the perfect wife at home. The hotel reservation was the final piece of proof I needed. I had access to our joint account statements, and I called the hotel to confirm the dates she had booked. They even sent me an email confirming the transaction. That was when I knew I had her completely cornered. I met with my lawyer the very next day. He told me that because Lisa had used our joint funds to finance her affair, I had every right to demand reimbursement in court. On top of that, since I had been faithful and she had been the one to break our vows, I had strong grounds for a favorable divorce settlement. But that was not enough. I wanted Lisa to face real consequences, not just legal ones. I wanted her to lose more than just me. I wanted her reputation to be in shambles. So, I started planning. First, I made sure to expose her to our closest friends. Lisa had spent years presenting herself as the perfect, devoted wife. She loved playing the role of a loving partner in front of people, and I knew the idea of being exposed would crush her. I invited our friends over under the pretense of wanting support during a rough time. Then I laid everything out, every piece of evidence, every receipt, every text message. The room was silent as they read through the proof. Some of them were furious, some were disgusted, and a few were even in shock. Lisa had fooled everyone. Then came the second phase of my plan. Lisa worked for a prestigious marketing firm, a company that had strict policies about employee conduct. I knew for a fact that they frowned upon any scandals that could damage their reputation. And Lisa, being arrogant, had used her work email to message her affair partner. I gathered those emails and sent an anonymous tip to HR. Within a week, Lisa was called into a meeting with her bosses. I did not hear from her directly, but a mutual friend later told me that she had been placed on unpaid leave while the company conducted an investigation. Apparently, they had found even more messages where she had badmouthed her bosses, made inappropriate jokes, and even bragged about getting away with things at work. The final blow was the house. Lisa had been assuming she would be able to come back home eventually, but she was in for a nasty surprise. She had no legal claim to the house. It was mine before we got married, and I had never put her name on the deed. Once I changed the locks and cut off her access, she had nowhere to go. She tried to fight me on it. She even showed up at my lawyer's office, demanding a settlement, claiming she had invested time into our marriage and deserved compensation. But my lawyer shut that down quickly. With all the evidence of her cheating, she was in no position to demand anything. When she realized she was truly losing everything, she broke down. Lisa called me one night, sobbing, saying she had made a mistake. She begged me to reconsider, saying we could go to counseling, that she could fix things, that she still loved me. It was almost pitiful to hear, but I knew better. Lisa did not love me. She loved the security and stability I had provided. And now that she had lost it all, she was desperate. I did not even respond. I let her words hang in the air before hanging up the phone. Lisa's affair partner did not get off easy either. Since he worked for the same company she did, he was also under investigation. And from what I heard, his marriage had fallen apart too. His wife had found out about the affair through the same evidence I had gathered. The last I heard, he was sleeping on his brother's couch, unemployed, and facing divorce. Meanwhile, I was free. I had walked away from a toxic relationship with my dignity intact, while Lisa was left picking up the pieces of her shattered life. And the best part? I did not even have to lift a finger to humiliate her. Her own actions did that for her. Lisa's downfall was not immediate, but it was inevitable. She had built her life on lies, manipulation, and selfishness, and now everything was crumbling. The finalization of our divorce was a turning point. I sat across from her in the courtroom, watching as her once confident demeanor had completely shattered. She looked exhausted, hollow even. Gone was the woman who had smugly believed she could cheat on me and walk away unscathed. She barely spoke, knowing that no argument could undo the damage she had caused. The judge's ruling was swift and absolute. Because she had used our shared finances to fund her affair, the court deemed it marital waste. She was not entitled to a cent of my money. No alimony, no assets, nothing. I walked out of that courthouse with my head held high. Lisa, on the other hand, slumped in her seat, looking as if the reality of her situation had just hit her. She had no place to go. She lost the house because I had paid for it. She tried to fight for it, but my lawyer was relentless. In the end, Lisa had to pack her things and leave with nowhere to turn. I later heard through mutual acquaintances that she had tried to move in with a friend, but even they had grown tired of her drama. Her job situation was even worse. The exposure of her affair had not just humiliated her personally, it had reached her professional life as well. Word spread through her office, and soon her boss found out. He was not pleased. Her affair partner, who also worked there, was fired on the spot for violating company policies. Lisa, though not immediately terminated, was put under intense scrutiny. Clients lost respect for her, co-workers gossiped, and leadership no longer trusted her. It was only a matter of time before she was forced out. Without a stable income, Lisa struggled to find an apartment. She ended up in a small, rundown rental far from the comfortable lifestyle she once had. The woman who used to mock people for having low standards was now barely making ends meet. Meanwhile, I was thriving. For the first time in years, I felt free. No more anxiety about a lying spouse. No more wasted energy on someone who did not value me. I poured my energy into my career, traveled to places I had always wanted to visit, and started seeing people on my own terms. No baggage, no betrayal, just a fresh start. Then one evening, I received an email from Lisa. It was long, pages of emotional rambling. She claimed she had changed, that she was going to therapy, that she had realized the terrible mistakes she had made. She admitted she had acted selfishly, that she had let her paranoia ruin our marriage, and that she deeply regretted everything. Then came the real reason for the email. She wanted to meet up. She wanted to talk, to at least have closure. I stared at the message for a long time. Then, without hesitation, I deleted it. Lisa had made her choices. She had thrown away our marriage, our trust, and everything we had built together. Her downfall was her own doing, and I had no obligation to be a part of her so-called redemption arc. A few months later, I ran into one of our old mutual friends. We caught up over coffee, and eventually Lisa's name came up. "She's miserable," he told me. "She lost her job completely. Works retail now, barely making rent. The guy she cheated with? He never wanted her long-term. He ghosted her as soon as things got messy." I nodded, but I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no pity, just indifference. Lisa had spent so much time assuming I was cheating that she convinced herself it was justified to betray me first. But in the end, she had only betrayed herself. And as for me, I had won. Not by revenge, not by spite, but by simply moving on and living a life better than she ever could. One night, as I stood on my balcony, feeling the cool night air, I realized something. For the first time in years, I felt completely at peace. Lisa had been nothing more than a storm in my life, and now that the storm had passed, I could finally see the sky again, and it had never looked clearer. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update.